a V12. We had the TWR Supercat that made us both smile, looking like a sort of Jaguar on steroids from the mid-1980s. Yeah. But for this, and particularly in the night when it becomes a little quieter at Le Mans, for the Aston Martin fans, they just had to listen out for a few minutes. Yeah, our cars are still in the race. I think that's cool.
That is very cool, actually. That is lovely to hear. I remember when it was a rotary with Johnny Herbert racing at Le Mans many years ago. The noise of that was so loud.
Yeah, and they used to race rotary touring cars as well with a Dutch Cup pair of drivers, Van den Beek and Coronel, father of Tim and Tom. And actually, when you were staying up all night covering the Spa 24 Hours, you rather hoped it retired because it was head-splitting.
It was. So, talking about Le Mans success, of course, Porsche's success was with both the 956 and the 962. And it's lovely that Henry Pearman, who has this remarkable collection of these machines, he's been part of celebrating Derek Bell this weekend because Derek, the multiple winner at Le Mans, this was one of the cars that he won Le Mans with.
It certainly was, and this was from the Group C period of sports car racing. It was a fuel formula by which you only allowed a maximum amount of fuel, and Derek hated it to start with because the performance was there for the Porsche 956, but he and Jackie Ickx had to get off the throttle, pussyfoot to save fuel, but then gradually it wound up and Porsche sold loads of customer cars, and the 962 came through and the wind started really flowing for Derek, and paired so many times with Jackie Ickx, 5 victories in all for Derek, and a local lad from just down the road, and I think that's all why he's so frequently here, and he really is part of the furniture in the nicest way possible. But to have his balcony moment on Thursday, that was very special.
It was very, very special, and lovely with his son jumping up there as well, and I raced against him as a youngster, but we both obviously had seen his dad do such an amazing job. Now, Johnny Herbert, I mentioned him a moment ago, he's driving a car that he's never raced, but he's in this Formula E car throughout the course of the weekend, and I think he's been enjoying himself. He enjoys anything he can get into and play with, and it's lovely to see Johnny going up in this Lola TW01. So they've been learning the Formula E way, but they're also going to go into other forms of motorsport with the Lola name under a new ownership into GT racing as well, I believe, aren't they?
Well, pressing on. I haven't had official confirmation of that, but Till Bechtelsheimer, a driver who loves his historic racing, he's taken over the company about 3 years ago, but you never know when it's taken over, where it's going to go, but he's really pressing hard. And if lots of Formula E cars are sold, Johnny will have a smile on his face because he's a Lola ambassador. But I think, anybody who knows Johnny, he's so full of enthusiasm. He's a great man to have around.
He is, absolutely. A great talent. And from his Formula One days, after he'd had a nasty injury, he was still able to do remarkable stuff. But that injury definitely did always affect him a little bit, but it's never stopped him trying just as hard and be so impressive. And Formula E was racing this weekend, of course, as well. But it's fun that we've been able to see one heading up the hill.
No, it is, because a lot of people haven't been to, say, the Berlin Tempelhof Airport circuit where they've been racing this weekend. But for Johnny, don't forget, yes, he had those awful injuries that restricted his Formula One, but hey, 30 years ago at the British Grand Prix, who took victory for the first time? This man, Johnny Herbert with Benetton.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely brilliant what he achieved. And he was in Formula One for a good long period as well, major part of his career. And it's great to see him having some fun with the Lola Formula E car. Right, we've got the Chevy Camaro now. Mike Winnett in that car.
That's amazing, yeah, and you can see the Chevy Camaro, Mike Winnett, I mean, what a juxtaposition going from rotary to All-American. And you get to actually see Zilich on the door. He is racing an Xfinity in Sonoma this weekend, and he actually won. So a vehicle that looks very similar to this across the pond at Sonoma. You know Sonoma, I mean, what an iconic track. They're in wine country, and they're drinking champagne, drinking a bit of the bubbly here this weekend. So again, that 87, that Trackhouse vehicle, Mad Mike got to drive this car in Austria at the Red Bull Ring just last weekend. He put on a show in his drift car. It looked like a video game. Then they gave him the keys to this thing. He might have broke the transmission, but they gave him the keys back and said, go ahead, have a vlog at it and have some fun. But Mike, he can drive anything, man. He was over here, obviously you can see he built the McLaren, the Mad Max, the rotary McLaren. He's built the drift Lambo. He's always building something unique, but I invite you now. Here's the official invite. Mad Mike Summer Bash, first weekend of December, just outside of Auckland. I'll be there. It's one heck of a show, and it's just fun. It's a track day. It's really kind of just a lot of fun celebrating the Kiwi culture. There's a lot of unique cars. Tony Quinn threw his arm over Mad Mike many years ago and said, hey, man, I love what you're doing. You, Tony, the kids. Lincoln, his son, is out there drifting. He's got a 6-rotor MX-5 over in Japan with TCP Magic. Again, Total Car Produce, but Mad Mike, can't wait to celebrate another Goodwood for him. And thank you again, guys. I don't think Mike's going to pull out his FDRX7, but He surprised me before, so you never know. Wait, hold on, an FDR7's coming out of the trunk of the Chevy Camaro. I'm joking.
Oh, it's been great having you, telling us all about the drifting. It's been absolutely superb. Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure, like Chick-fil-A, closed on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Jared. And it's been fantastic having Jared here. He's really brought, well, sackloads of enthusiasm, a truckload of knowledge, and he's got his hands full.
Well, let's just see Johnny Cecotto going up in one of the BMW M3, the DTM. The 3 Series BMWs, so much success in touring cars. This was from the German touring car series, the DTM, and, well, they were absolutely dominant at one stage. Johnny Cecotto was always impressive with it.
Yeah, he was super smooth, and I guess it was probably like he was on bikes. You know, he had so much success so young, and if it hadn't been for the leg injuries, who knows? He was far faster than a lot of people realised in Formula 1. Bear in mind, if your teammate is Ayrton Senna, well, you're not on a winner, are you?
Absolutely. No, it was absolutely great to see him, Johnny Cecotto, heading up the hill with the BMW. And BMW is such a lovely part of the F1 GTR, the machine that won, the type that won the Le Mans in 1995.
You know, and if you ignore the McLaren F1, still now is considered one of the ultimate, if not the ultimate road car. Bear in mind, it's 30 years old. That central driving position, the packaging, all sorted out between Gordon Murray, who we've been celebrating here this weekend, with the BMW unit in the back. Exquisite, and it doesn't look old even now. But then, of course, when it went racing, got the racing cues, got the big rear wing. You know, it went on. The teams were all around the world were trying to get their hands on this to go racing. This is one entered by Team Bugatti. You know, ran for years touring cars in Italy and across Europe. But they were all tilting to see if they could get their hands on the Le Mans trophy in 1996. It didn't happen, but bear in mind that win in 1995 was done beating the best of the prototypes, and it was just the most extraordinary results, and certainly for JJ Leto, one of the hero drives in the history of Le Mans, running through that race 18 hours out of the 24 in driving rain. He was the star. Right, we go right back to the beginning of this year's Festival of
Yes.
Speed. 2 cars that you could hardly make out. Of course, with the camo livery, we could spot that it was a Toyota of 2 types, one with the wing, one without, and this is the GT concept, and it's been winning fans, but they have been super tight. We thought they'd have cracked by now and told us what's under the hood. We do not know, even now.
No, they're going to keep it quiet for us. They're not letting it know, but it is something that you can keep an eye on, watch to see what they do develop with this Toyota, because they have lots of potential plans. The GT
Give us a few clean laps to get our fuel numbers.
fighting at the top. But not just Colin McRae, but Richard Burns too. We missed them both enormously. But Thierry Neuville, a bit of a slow burner in so many ways, Ben, in the World Rally Championship. Always fast, but the results didn't always come his way. But it's actually just so heartwarming to fight. He's got there at last.
Absolutely, so nice that he won last year's World Rally Championship, and you've got him here, Thierry Neuville, the reigning champion effectively. The season hasn't gone quite so well for him yet this year, but to have taken the title, as you say, after being runner-up a number of times, actually was back as far as 2013 he was runner-up, having started in the year before in World Rally Championship, and yet it's taken him some 12 years of trying to get to the title, but he did it. I'm so pleased for him.
Yeah, and also pleased, you know, Hyundai just put so much effort into it. It's not just their World Rally Championship. They've stuck at it, but it's what we've seen here this weekend. Drift car version, something I thought I'd never see. And just all their competition vehicles and all their road vehicles, and they really are pushing, but I love the fact they have such a definitive performance arm with the powder blue livery that goes across the range. They've nailed their colours to that. It's a bit like Alpine have the metallic blue as their competition livery. You know, yellow for Renault, etc., etc. But Hyundai, they really have pushed, and last year they got their reward.
They did, absolutely, fully deserved. Wonderful to see, and really great, and well, so much to enjoy throughout the course. And just look, Ed Foster's about to head down, and look what he's in.
Well, I was told I couldn't fit in, but Ed, who's 3 inches taller than me, but then he's a farmer and he's determined to get some more pickups for the farm up in Scotland. Thumbs up. Will he still be smiling when he's come down past the Flint Wall? It's only because he's coming down to do the radio show. But Ryan Turk, Ed Foster, two of the stars of the Festival of Speed, and it's great to see that happen. But let's take a look back at the highlights of the final batch of Day 4.
Yeah, we saw some classic Paris-Dakar bikes, and then John's lovely old touring car.
Yeah, absolutely. What a mixture. But seeing Jake Hill getting a bit carried away when he was in the Can-Am car, and then a beautiful Porsche from the 1960s.
James Dean can put it on a sixpence. This car's 6 weeks old, but stunning for RTR. But then the truck, the Toyota truck,
yeah,
the Toyota Stout, 1966, one of the stars of the show.
Oh, I'm so pleased for Ed that he's coming down in that one. I wonder if it's going to come down quite like that, because it was showing such demonstration. I love the drift cars being here at Goodwood, and it was great to hear from Jared about how they work and about the drivers, and he went to interview them all as well. It was really beautifully done. There's nothing quite like them. And this Volvo, I mean, great memories of these Volvo estates on the road. This is somewhat different to the ones that we saw on the road.
It certainly is, and they evolve all the time. We had them in the British Touring Car Championship long ago, but of course you can drift in all sorts of things. We have the Stars, the Hyundai electric one, but hydrogen powered cars, Extreme each. That's the one that's coming shortly. But the final batch, such diversity, and entertaining us all the way through to the end of the action here on a Sunday afternoon, Day 4 of the Goodwood Festival of Speed. It's been enormous fun.
Let's go back to some earlier conversation.
Give us a few clean laps to get our fuel numbers. All right. Clear on the right. cam penalty. You've got wheel damage. Looks like one of your wheels is out of alignment. You'll have less grip out there. you cut the course. You'll have to slow down and give up the time gap.
today. Well, it's a while till we get there. We are bright and early here at Goodwood. We're waiting for our first cars to enter the Forest Rally stage this morning. And already great to see so many people floating around up here pre-9 o'clock. We're just coming up to the mark now. And we can see the sensational new start area this year, Zav, which we see an elevated view of the cars on just before they head down onto the tarmac and plunge into the stage.
Yeah, it's proved really popular. Martin Overington on the stage there in his Golden Wonder 6R4, but this time it's his friend Guy Stevens behind the wheel. And we thought we would have a nice quiet start to Sunday morning after last night's festivities, but we will have the 6R4. We have a couple of the Renault Alpines going to make their way onto the stage. I can see a couple of Audi Quattros. So the dawn silence, morning silence is now broken for the next few hours, and we will have plenty of cars between now and midday to keep you thoroughly entertained.
This one is a 2.5 V6. The Martin Overington owned car. He also races historic Formula 1, quite a character. Ram Sport car, took over the 3-year restoration of this car, which was formerly the John Price Duckham's car, which Zav will remember very well, winning so many tarmac championships. At WRC level, Sir Patrick Head was involved in the design, and that's the V6 engine off the